Today, I'm going to tell you a story in clear, easy English. We will be working at level C1, Advanced. Turn on the subtitles to see the translation in your own language. The night I ran for my life. I never imagined the most ordinary evening of my life would become the most extraordinary and terrifying night I would ever endure. It began with a simple choice: to walk home instead of taking a cab. I'd done it 100 times before. The neighborhood was quiet, familiar, even comforting. But routine can be deceptive. It can trick you into believing you are safe simply because nothing bad has happened yet. A strange encounter. It was a cool Tuesday night, the kind that makes the street lamps glow a little softer. I was halfway home when a white van rolled slowly past me. I didn't think much of it until it stopped at the end of the block. A man stepped out, tall, thin, with a walk that was somehow both steady and strange, like he was rehearsing each movement. He didn't look back at me, but something about his presence made my stomach tighten. I quickened my pace. Footsteps echoed behind me. At first, I told myself he just happened to be walking the same direction. Coincidences exist, after all. But when I crossed the street and he crossed immediately after, my nerves sharpened. Then he called out, "Excuse me, I think you dropped something." I turned instinctively. "What is it?" That was my mistake. Something hard and heavy slammed into the side of my head, and the world dissolved. Waking in the dark. When I opened my eyes, everything was black. Not dark, black. A blindfold. My wrists were tied in front of me, tightly enough that my hands tingled. I felt the vibration of an engine beneath me and realized I was inside a moving vehicle. Panic rose like a wave, sudden and suffocating. Then I heard him, humming. A soft, tuneless sound as if he were enjoying a pleasant drive. I lay frozen, trying to control my breathing. I remembered news reports from the last few months, women disappearing, always near my area. Police had no leads, only vague descriptions of a possible suspect driving a white van, and now I was in it. My throat felt tight, but I forced myself to think. If I panicked, I was done. If I stayed calm, I had a chance. The van slowed. Gravel crunched under the tires. Sparrows chirped somewhere outside. We weren't in the city anymore. The humming stopped. A door opened, then fingers curled around my arm. The killer's lair. He dragged me out of the van and into a building that smelled of mold, rust, and cold earth. When he finally removed the blindfold, my eyes stung from the sudden light. We were in a basement. A single bulb hung from the ceiling. Chains lined the wall. He smiled at me, an ordinary smile, friendly even. But his eyes were dead, like windows with no lights behind them. "I'm glad you're awake," he said softly. "I like it when they're awake." I swallowed hard. "Please, you don't have to do this." He tilted his head. "Oh, but I do. You were chosen." I felt my heartbeat pound against my ribs. He tied me to a metal pole, securing my wrists and ankles. But as he worked, I noticed something. He was slow, careful, almost too precise. He repeated movements unnecessarily, as though trapped in a ritual, and rituals can be disrupted. The attempt to escape. He stepped back, admiring his work like an artist evaluating a canvas. "I'll be right back," he said. "Don't go anywhere." The door closed. His footsteps faded. Immediately, I tested the ropes. They were tight, but not perfectly tied. His precision had worked in my favor. Overly neat knots don't tighten properly. I twisted my wrists. Pain shot through my skin, but I kept going. Slowly, one hand slipped halfway out. Then I heard footsteps again, coming back. I forced my hand back in place and froze. The door opened. He entered carrying a small wooden box, beautifully crafted, disturbingly elegant. He set it on a table and opened it slowly, like it was a cherished treasure chest. Inside were tools, sharp, shining tools. My stomach turned. He selected one and approached me. "Do you want to know a secret?" he asked, his voice gentle. "You're braver than the others were." I didn't trust myself to speak. But as he lifted the tool, a sound interrupted him. A faint chime. He frowned and stepped away to check his phone. That tiny break in his attention was all I needed. Breaking free. I twisted my wrist again, harder. Skin tore, but the rope slipped. My right hand was free. I waited for the moment he turned his back completely. Then I struck. I grabbed the closest object, a heavy metal clamp from a shelf, and swung it with every ounce of strength I had. It connected with his shoulder, not his head. Not enough. He roared in pain, spinning toward me. I dropped the clamp and ran. Up the stairs, through the doorway, down a hallway that smelled of rot and dust. Behind me, I heard him shouting, his footsteps thunderous and furious. The front door was locked, of course. I needed another way. A window, high, small, but openable. I climbed onto a table, shoved it upward. Rust resisted me, but adrenaline gave me strength. Footsteps grew louder. I squeezed through the window, scraping my back, tearing my shirt, ripping skin from my arms. Outside, the cold air hit me like a slap. I dropped into wet grass. Then I ran. Through the forest. The house was surrounded by forest, dense, silent, endless, perfect for someone who wanted to hide evil. Branches whipped my arms, roots tried to trip me. The night was freezing, but I didn't feel the cold. Fear kept me burning. Behind me, I heard him again, closer now. "Stop!" he screamed, as if I ever would. I pushed harder, lungs screaming, legs aching. I didn't know where I was going, just away. Then, through the trees, I saw it, a light, a house, a real one. I stumbled toward it and pounded on the door. It opened. A woman stood inside, shocked by my appearance. I tried to speak, but collapsed onto her floor instead. My voice was gone, only terror came out. She called the police immediately. Aftermath. They found him an hour later. He was still in the forest, searching for me, desperate and enraged. He didn't surrender. He never would have. But now he's gone. The weeks that followed were a blur of interviews, therapy sessions, restless nights, and countless reminders that I survived something most people never do. But survival changes you. It sharpens you. It teaches you that courage doesn't come from fearlessness. It comes from moving through fear, step by step, even when every part of you wants to give up. People sometimes ask me how I escaped a serial killer. The truth is simple. I didn't escape because I was strong. I escaped because I refused to stop trying. And because on the night I ran for my life, I ran toward hope, even when I didn't know where it was.
If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. Until next time, take care and learn something new every day.